Every job has its unwritten rules, the things they don't put in the training manual. The knowledge that gets passed down from the old-timers to the new hires in hushed conversations during break time. In restaurants, it's which regular customers to avoid. In retail, it's which items seem to go missing no matter how many times you restock them. Welcome to After Dark Horrors. And in delivery work? Well, we have the list, not an official list. You won't find it in any Amazon database or UPS routing software. It's a collection of addresses passed between drivers like a dark secret. Houses where you leave the package at the curb. Addresses where you mark delivered without ever approaching the door. Places where, especially on Halloween night, you absolutely never ever knock. Tonight's account comes from a driver we'll call Marcus, yes, like me, who learned about the list the hard way during his first Halloween season. He thought the veteran drivers were hazing him, playing pranks on the new guy. He thought the stories were just urban legends, ghost stories to spook the rookies. He was wrong. What you're about to hear is his testimony. 6 houses, 6 addresses on the list, 6 reasons why some packages are better left undelivered. 6 encounters that will make you understand why. When you see a delivery driver speed past your house on Halloween night without stopping, it might not be because they're behind schedule. Sometimes they're just trying to survive their shift. So, settle in. Check your tracking number. And remember, when that doorbell camera notification pops up on Halloween night, maybe check the footage in the morning. Some visitors are better left unseen. This is After Dark Horrors. And this is why we don't deliver After Dark on Halloween. My name is Marcus. Yeah, I know. Same as the host, weird coincidence. And I've been delivering packages for 3 years now. Started with Amazon, did some time with FedEx. Now I'm back with Amazon as a DSP driver. Delivery service partner for those who don't know the lingo. It's a good job. Decent pay. I like being on the road. And despite what you might think, most customers are pretty cool. But this story isn't about most customers. This is about the list. And this is about what happened during my first Halloween on the job, October 31st, 2021. I'd been driving for about 4 months at that point. Still new, but not green. I knew my routes, had my system down, was hitting my delivery targets. I thought I was hot shit, to be honest. Young guy, 25, in good shape, fast on my feet. I could knock out 200 stops in a shift and still have energy to hit the gym after. Halloween fell on a Sunday that year. I was scheduled for a rare evening shift, noon to 10 p.m. When I showed up at the station for loadout, the mood was different. The veteran drivers were clustered together, talking in low voices. Some of them were trying to trade routes, offering cash to anyone who takes certain neighborhoods. What's the deal? I asked Tommy, a guy who'd been driving for 5 years. Everyone seemed spooked. Tommy looked at me with this expression I'll never forget. Part pity, part dark amusement. It's your first Halloween, isn't it, Rook? Yeah, so? So you're about to learn why October 31st is the worst fucking day to be a delivery driver? I laughed it off. What, scared of some kids in costumes? No, Tommy said, and he wasn't smiling. Scared of the houses that wait all year for tonight. That's when he told me about the list. According to Tommy, every DSP station had one. An unofficial, unwritten collection of addresses where weird shit happened. Most of the time, these houses were just off. Packages would go missing. Customers would complain about deliveries that drivers swore they made. Minor stuff, but on Halloween, Tommy said, these houses woke up. Woke up? Look, I know how it sounds, Tommy said, but I've been doing this for 5 years, and I've seen shit that would make you piss yourself. There are addresses on my route today that I'm going to skip. Take the hit on my metrics, because delivering to those houses on Halloween isn't worth what might happen. He pulled out his phone, opened a notes app. It was a list of addresses with brief descriptions next to each one. I glimpsed a few of them: 47 Willow Lane, the Follower House, 1428 Elm Street, do not knock, 1979 666 Ashwood Doctor. Thank you notes 2121. Pine Circle, The Backwards Walk. 3333. Maple Court, Time Skip House. 9999. Oak Ridge, The Collection. These are just on your route? I asked. Every route has them, Tommy said. Check your manifest. If you've got any of these addresses, just mark them as no safe location and move on. Trust me, I thought he was fucking with me, hazing the new guy. But something in his eyes, in the way the other veteran drivers were acting, made me screenshot his list. My route that day had 186 stops. Pretty standard for a Sunday. I loaded my van, did my pre-trip inspection, and headed out. The first few hours were normal. Subdivisions full of Halloween decorations, kids already out in costume even though it was barely 2 p.m., parents waving from driveways. Then, at stop number 47, I saw it on my scanner, 4747 Willow Lane, the follower house. I sat in my van for a minute, Tommy's warning echoing in my head. But come on, it was broad daylight. The house looked completely normal, a 2-story colonial with a manicured lawn. They'd ordered a small package, probably something for tonight's festivities. I grabbed it and walked up the driveway. The decorations were elaborate but tasteful. Vintage Halloween stuff, those old-school cardboard cutouts of witches and black cats that looked like they were from the 1950s. Corn stalks tied to the porch pillars. A scarecrow sitting in a rocking chair by the door. I set the package on the porch, took my photo for proof of delivery, and turned to leave. The scarecrow's head turned to watch me go. Not quickly, not obviously. But as I walked back to my van, I could see it in my peripheral vision. The scarecrow's head was slowly, steadily rotating to track my movement. I stopped, looked directly at it. It was perfectly still, facing the street exactly as it had been when I arrived. I took a step backward, keeping my eyes on it. Nothing. Another step. Still nothing. I turned and jogged to my van, got in, and started the engine. As I pulled away, I couldn't help but check the rearview mirror. The scarecrow was standing. It was at the end of the driveway, one arm raised as if waving goodbye. But scarecrows can't stand. They're just clothes stuffed with straw. They don't have bones or muscles. They can't. I drove to my next stop, trying to rationalize what I'd seen. Maybe it was a person in costume. An elaborate prank. Halloween brought out the weirdos, right? But when I got to my next stop and opened the back of the van to grab the package, the scarecrow was there. Not the same scarecrow. That would be impossible. I'd driven 3 miles in 5 minutes, but sitting on top of the packages was a small, maybe 8-inch tall, exact replica of the scarecrow from 4747 Willow Lane. Same vintage clothes, same stitched face, same raised arm waving. I stumbled backward, nearly falling out of the van. The scarecrow doll didn't move. It just sat there, perfectly still, on top of a package addressed to someone named Jennifer Walsh. I grabbed it, the doll, not the package, and threw it into the bushes beside the road. Then I delivered Jennifer's package, my hands shaking as I took the photo. At the next stop, it was back, sitting on a different package, waving. I threw it away again. It came back. I tried leaving it in a dumpster. It came back. I even tried running it over with the van. When I opened the back doors at the next stop, it was there, completely undamaged, still waving. After the 10th time, I gave up. I just worked around it, ignored it, pretended it wasn't there. But I could feel its stitched eyes watching me. And every time I glanced at it, that raised arm seemed to be pointing, directing me somewhere. As the sun began to set and the trick-or-treaters emerged in force, I realized where it was pointing, to my next stop on the list, 1428 Elm Street, the Do Not Knock, 1979 house. 1428 Elm Street was in an older part of town where the houses were built in the post-war boom of the 1950s. American dream homes with big yards and detached garages. Most had been renovated over the years, but 1428 looked exactly as it must have in 1979. The cars in the driveway sealed the deal: a wood-paneled station wagon and a Pontiac Firebird, both looking showroom fresh despite being over 40 years old. The house itself was dark. No Halloween decorations, no porch light, no signs of life at all. The only indication anyone lived there was the perfectly maintained lawn and those pristine vintage cars. The package was big, one of those 45-pound boxes that always killed my back. The label was standard Amazon, but something was off. The recipient name was just resident, and the order date showed as 10/31/1979. That had to be a system glitch. Amazon didn't exist in 1979. Hell, the internet didn't exist in 1979. I sat in my van, engine running, staring at the house. The little scarecrow doll had moved to my dashboard somehow, its arm now pointing directly at the front door. Tommy's warning echoed in my head, "Do not knock, fine." I wouldn't knock. I'd leave the package at the door, take my photo, and leave. Simple. I hefted the heavy box and walked up the driveway. The neighborhood was strangely quiet. No trick-or-treaters on this street, no sounds of Halloween parties. Even the wind had stopped. I set the package on the porch, pulled out my phone for the delivery photo, and froze. Through my camera screen, I could see someone standing in the window beside the door. A woman in 1970s clothing, a yellow sundress with orange flowers. Big hair. She was watching me, smiling. But when I lowered my phone and looked with my own eyes, the window was empty, dark, no one there. I raised my phone again. There she was, clear as day in my camera view, now waving at me. She pointed at the door, then made a knocking motion with her hand. I shook my head, took my delivery photo, and started to back away. That's when I heard it. From inside the house, clear as day. Oh, a delivery. "Honey, did you get the door?" "My hands are full." A man's voice responded. "Sure thing, Linda. Is it the candy for tonight? We're running low." The doorknob started to turn. Everything in my body screamed, "Run!" I turned and sprinted for the van. Behind me, I heard the door open. Young man, wait. "We have something for you." I didn't look back. I dove into the van, slammed it into drive, and peeled out. In my rearview mirror, I saw them standing on the porch, a perfect 1970s suburban couple. The woman in her sundress, the man in brown slacks and a mustard-colored shirt. They were waving, both of them, perfectly synchronized. My phone buzzed. A delivery complaint already. I checked it at the next red light. Driver was very rude. Didn't wait for signature. Package contained perishable items, Halloween candy. Please redeliver. Linda Morrison, October 31st, 1979. The complaint showed as being filed 42 years ago. I looked back at the scarecrow doll. It had turned to face me, and I swear to God, it was shaking its head disapprovingly. At my next regular stop, a normal house with normal people who took their package with a normal thank you, I called Tommy. "You delivered to 1428 Elm?" he asked immediately. "Yeah. Did you knock?" "No, but they came out anyway." Tommy was quiet for a moment. "Shit. Okay, how many were there?" "Two. A couple." "Just two?" He sounded relieved. "That's good. That's really good." "Why?" "How many are usually there?" "Depends on how many drivers knocked over the years. Every Halloween, anyone who knocks or rings the doorbell, they join the family. They answer the door the next year, and the next, and the next. That's insane." In 1979, Linda and Robert Morrison were killed on Halloween night. Home invasion. The killers were never caught. But every Halloween since, they answer the door. And anyone who knocks, anyone who accepts their invitation to come inside, they become part of the Morrison family Halloween, forever. So those drivers are still there, still in 1979, still celebrating Halloween. Every year, the family gets bigger. That's why we never knock. That's why we leave the package and run. But I didn't knock. Why did they come out? Tommy was quiet again. Then, did you have your phone out? Yeah, for the delivery photo. Cameras. They can see you through cameras. Digital, analog, doesn't matter. To them, looking through a camera is like looking through their window. And if they see you, they think you want to come in. I thought about all the Ring doorbells, all the security cameras I'd triggered that day. How many houses had I been visible to things that shouldn't be able to see me? Marcus, Tommy said, what's your next stop? I checked my scanner. 666 Ashwood Drive. The thank you notes house? Fuck. Okay, listen very carefully. That one's different. You need to deliver that package. If you don't, it gets worse. But whatever you do, do not read any note they leave for you. Don't even look at it directly. And if you find a note in your van later, and you will, burn it. Don't read it. Burn it! Tommy, what the fuck is happening? What are these houses? Halloween is when the veil is thinnest, Marcus. Most people dress up as monsters for fun, but some houses remember what it's like to be monstrous. And they've learned to use our delivery network as a way to reach out, to touch our world, to invite us in. I want to go back to the station. You can't. Once you've started the list, you have to finish it. If you don't, they follow you home. The scarecrow's already attached itself to you, hasn't it? I looked at the dashboard. The little scarecrow doll was still there, now pointing toward my next destination. Yeah, then you're already marked. Finish your route. Deliver to the houses on the list. Don't engage more than necessary. And whatever you do, survive until midnight. After Halloween ends, they go back to sleep. And if I don't survive? Tommy didn't answer. He didn't need to. Ashwood Drive sat at the end of a cul-de-sac, isolated from its neighbors by empty lots on either side. The developers had probably planned to build more houses, but never got around to it. Or maybe, I thought as I approached, the other houses had been torn down. Maybe proximity to 666 was unhealthy for architecture. The house itself looked normal enough. A modest ranch-style home with beige siding and a two-car garage. But the lawn was strange. It was covered in small pieces of paper, hundreds of them, like someone had thrown confetti made from notebook pages. They fluttered in the evening breeze, but never blew away. They just circulated around the yard in lazy circles, never leaving the property line. The package was small this time, a padded envelope. The recipient was listed as the Grateful Family, no first names. The scarecrow doll on my dashboard was practically vibrating, its little arm pointing insistently at the front door. I grabbed the package and walked up the driveway, careful not to step on any of the paper pieces. As I got closer, I could see they all had writing on them. Different handwriting styles, different languages, different colors of ink. Some looked fresh, others weathered and old. The porch was covered in them too. Taped to the walls, stuck under the doormat, wedged into every crack and crevice. All notes, all starting with the same two words, even in different languages. Thank you. I set the package down and immediately saw it. A fresh piece of paper tucked under the welcome mat, with delivery driver written on the outside in elegant cursive. Tommy's warning echoed in my head, don't read it, don't even look at it directly. I took my delivery photo, careful to keep the note out of frame, and turned to leave. That's when I heard the sound of paper rustling inside the house. Lots of paper, like someone riffling through a phone book the size of a refrigerator. A slot in the door, like an old-fashioned mail slot, opened from the inside. A pale hand emerged, holding over another note. The hand was wrong, too long, too many joints in the fingers. It set the note on top of the package and retreated. The slot closed. Every instinct told me to run, but something made me look back. The new note was different. It wasn't paper. It was skin. Human skin stretched thin like parchment, with words tattooed or burned into it. Thank you for the delivery. Your service is appreciated. A gift will be provided. I stumbled backward, my stomach churning. The note fluttered in a non-existent wind, and I saw more text appearing on it, writing itself in real time. Your name is Marcus. You have been driving for 4 months. You live alone in apartment 23B on Riverside. Your mother calls every Sunday. You should call her more often. How did it know these things? More text appeared. You are reading this despite being warned. Gratitude must be reciprocated. You have accepted our thanks. Now you must give yours. I ran, sprinted to the van and locked the doors. My hands were shaking as I marked the delivery complete. When I looked in the back of the van, there were 3 more note-stucked packages. I didn't read them. I grabbed them with a delivery bag, careful not to look directly at them, and stuffed them under my seat. At the next stop, a normal house, thank God, I was pulling out a package when I found another note. This one was stuck to my scanner. I don't know how it got there. I peeled it off without looking and added it to my collection under the seat. By the time I'd made 5 more deliveries, I'd found 17 notes. They were everywhere, in my cup holder, stuck to my windshield, folded into my delivery bag. One was even in my pocket, though I know for certain nothing had touched me. The Scarecrow doll was facing backward now, watching the pile under my seat with what I swear was a worried expression at its stitched face. I called Tommy again. The thank you house is sending me notes. They're everywhere. Whatever you do, don't read them, he said urgently. How many do you have? At least 20 now. Jesus. Okay, you need to burn them now, before it gets worse. I'm in the middle of my route. Pull over. Find a metal trash can. Burn them now, or by the time you finish your route, you won't be able to. They multiply, and once you have enough of them, they don't need you to read them anymore. They can read themselves to you. I pulled into a park that was empty except for a few late trick-or-treaters. Found a metal trash can. Dumped the notes in, careful not to look at them directly. I could see writing in my peripheral vision, different languages, some I recognized, some I didn't, and some that hurt to perceive, even indirectly. I lit them with the emergency lighter from my van's first aid kit. They burned wrong. The flames were cold and gave off no light. The smoke smelled like gratitude. I know that doesn't make sense, but that's what it smelled like. Overwhelming, cloying, suffocating gratitude. As they burned, I heard whispers, hundreds of voices saying thank you in hundreds of languages. Some were human languages. Others were decidedly not. When the last note was ash, I looked at my scanner. 3 more stops on the list. 21 Pine Circle was next. The backwards walk house, the Scarecrow doll, had turned forward again. Its arm was pointing the way, and I noticed something new. There was writing on its tiny shirt, stitched in thread so fine I hadn't seen it before. Thank you for carrying me. 21. Pine Circle was in a newer development, one of those cookie-cutter neighborhoods where every third house is the same model, just painted different colors. It was full dark now, about 8 p.m., and the streets were busy with trick-or-treaters, parents with flashlights, kids with pillowcases full of candy, normal Halloween stuff that felt surreal after what I'd been experiencing. The house at 2121 looked identical to its neighbors except for one thing. All the Halloween decorations were facing backward. The jack-o'-lanterns had their faces carved on the back, glowing toward the house instead of the street. The skeleton on the door was facing inside. Even the Happy Halloween banner was reversed, readable only from inside the house looking out. The package was medium-sized, addressed to the Reversals. I was getting used to the weird names by now. I parked at the curb and watched the house for a moment. A group of trick-or-treaters walked up the driveway, their parents hanging back at the sidewalk. The kids rang the doorbell. Normal Halloween transaction. Door opens, candy is distributed, kids say thank you and leave. Except they didn't leave normally. They walked backward down the driveway, not stumbling, not looking over their shoulders. They walked backward as naturally as if it were the normal way to walk, their faces blank, their candy bags dragging behind them. Their parents didn't seem to notice anything wrong. They just took their kids' hands and continued to the next house. But I watched those kids. They kept trying to walk backward. Their parents had to constantly correct them, turn them around, and even then, the kids would crane their necks, trying to look behind them, trying to walk in reverse. I grabbed the package and started up the driveway. Halfway there, I felt it, an overwhelming urge to turn around. Not to run, just to turn around and walk backward. It would be so much easier, so much more natural. Why do we insist on walking forward anyway? Backward is just as valid a direction. I forced myself to keep going forward. Each step was harder than the last. By the time I reached the porch, it felt like I was walking through thick mud. My body desperately wanted to turn, to reverse, to walk the way the house wanted me to walk. I set the package down and took my photo. As I did, the door opened. A child stood there, maybe 7 years old. She was facing away from me, looking into the house, but her head was turned 180 degrees to look at me. Not her body, just her head, like an owl. "Package delivery," I managed to say, my voice cracking. "Thank you," she said, her voice cheerful despite the grotesque angle of her neck. "Would you like some candy?" "No, I'm good. Are you sure?" She held out a bowl of candy. She was holding it behind her back, arms bent at impossible angles to offer it to me. "Everyone wants candy on Halloween. I'm working." "Work backward," she said. "It's easier. Everything is easier backward. You can see where you've been." No surprises, I backed away from the door. The moment I started moving backward, the pressure released. It felt amazing, natural, right. I backed down the driveway, and it was the most comfortable I'd felt all night. The little girl watched me go, smiling, her head still twisted around. "You're learning," she called out. "Soon you'll understand. Forward is a lie. There's only backward. Only return." I reached the van and the spell broke. I stumbled, caught myself on the door, and quickly got inside. In my rearview mirror, oh God, the irony, I saw the little girl still standing in the doorway. But now there were others, adults, all standing backward, heads turned to watch me. A whole family of reversals. The scarecrow doll had turned backward on the dashboard. Its stitched face was looking at me over its shoulder. Somehow this was worse than anything else. It looked so satisfied. I forced myself to drive forward to my next stop, 33 Maple Court, the time skip house. Only 2 more list houses after this. I could make it. Just had to survive until midnight. It was 8:47 p.m. when I arrived at 33 Maple Court. It was also 9:15 p.m. and 8:32 p.m. My phone showed all 3 times simultaneously, the digits glitching and overlapping. The clock in the van was spinning randomly, sometimes forward, sometimes backward. My scanner showed the delivery time as now, then, soon. The house itself looked unstable, not structurally, temporally. It flickered between different states. Sometimes it had Halloween decorations, sometimes it didn't. Sometimes there were cars in the driveway, sometimes not. Sometimes it looked new, sometimes decades old. I watched a trick-or-treater walk up to the door. They rang the bell. The door opened immediately, but also took forever to open, but also never opened at all. The kid got candy, didn't get candy, and was still waiting for candy, all at the same time. My head hurt trying to process it. The package was large and heavy. The label kept changing. Sometimes it showed as delivered yesterday. Sometimes it showed as scheduled for next week. The recipient name flickered between the temporal family, the Nauthans, and error time paradox. I approached the house, and time shattered around me. I was 8 years old delivering newspapers. I was 35 working for FedEx. I was 60, retired, wondering why I was standing on someone's porch. I was 25 right now in 2021, holding an Amazon package. The door was open, closed, opening. About to open, a woman stood there. She was young, middle-aged, elderly, and not born yet. She smiled with teeth, without teeth, with dentures, with braces. "Package," I said, "we'll say." had said. "Thank you," she replied. Had replied. "You're just in time, late, early. When are you?" "Tuesday," I answered, though it was Sunday. Or was it? Had Sunday happened yet? "Good, we ordered this last year. Tomorrow. In 1987. It should arrive yesterday." I sat down. Her picked up was holding the package. The delivery photo showed the package on the porch in my hands and in the van simultaneously. "Would you like to come in?" she asked. "You already did." "You will." "You won't." "No," I said firmly, clinging to the present tense like a life raft. "You can't fight time," she said sadly. "No one can. We tried. Now we're everywhere, scattered across all the Halloweens that ever were or will be. Sometimes we're here, sometimes we're not. Sometimes we're still trying to fight it." I backed away, or maybe I moved forward. Direction had lost meaning. I was in my van. I was walking to the door. I was driving away. All at once, all separately. Then, suddenly, snap. I was in my van, driving away from 33 Maple Court. My phone showed 9:23 p.m. Linear time had reasserted itself. But when I checked my delivery log, it showed that I had delivered to that house 17 times in the last minute. And also never. And also tomorrow. One more house on the list. 990 Oak Ridge. The collection. The scarecrow doll was in pieces on my dashboard. Not broken, disassembled. Arranged in a pattern that hurt to look at. As I watched, it reassembled itself, each piece moving backward through time to become whole again. It pointed toward the final house. Its stitched mouth had formed into what looked like a warning, or maybe a prayer. Oak Ridge wasn't supposed to exist. The addresses on Oak Ridge went from 9995 to 1003. There was no 999, but there it was on my scanner, and there it was in reality. A house that occupied a space between two other houses that shouldn't have been able to fit. It was like someone had pressed a house into a gap that was only inches wide, and reality had just adjusted. It was 11:14 p.m. now, less than an hour until Halloween ended. I'd delivered all my regular packages, leaving only this final list house. The normal trick-or-treaters had gone home. The streets were empty, except for the occasional group of drunk college kids in last-minute costumes. The house at 9999 Oak Ridge was completely dark. Not just unlit, dark in a way that seemed to absorb the streetlight. Looking at it was like looking into a hole in the world. The only thing I could make out was the front door, which was painted red. Not bright red, dark red. The color of dried... No, I wasn't going to think about that. The package was tiny, ring box sized. But it was heavy, impossibly heavy for its size. The label said simply, "Final item, the collection." The scarecrow doll on my dashboard had gone still. Its arm was no longer pointing. It sat slumped against the windshield like it had given up, or like it was playing dead. I picked up the package and immediately understood why it was so heavy. It wasn't the weight of the object. It was the weight of what it represented. This was the last delivery. The final test, the one that determined whether I joined the list of drivers who never came back, or whether I survived to warn the next rookie. I got out of the van. The air around 9999 was different, thicker, older, full of the smell of every Halloween that had ever been. Candy corn from the 1950s, rubber, masks from the 1970s, the metallic scent of cheap face paint from the 1990s, all of it layered together into an overwhelming nostalgic assault. The walkway to the front door was lined with objects. Not decorations, deliveries, packages from every delivery company I'd ever heard of, and some I hadn't. UPS, FedEx, DHL, USPS, companies with names and languages I didn't recognize. Some of the packages looked fresh. Others were decades old, wrapped in brown paper and twine. A few looked like they predated modern shipping entirely. Wooden crates, leather satchels, even what appeared to be a stone tablet with hieroglyphics. Each package had never been opened. Each was waiting. I reached the door. There was no doorbell, no knocker, just that dark red surface that seemed to pulse slightly in my peripheral vision. I set the package down and raised my phone for the delivery photo. Through the camera screen, I could see them, the collectors. They stood behind the door, visible through my phone as if the door was transparent. There were dozens of them, maybe hundreds, all in delivery uniforms from different eras. Milkmen from the 1950s, Pony Express riders, modern Amazon drivers like me, even what looked like medieval messengers. They were all holding packages, their final deliveries, the ones they never got to complete because they had become part of the collection instead. One of them stepped forward, a FedEx driver, probably from the 1990s based on his uniform style. Young guy, maybe my age. He pressed his hand against the inside of the door, and words appeared on my phone screen, overlaying the camera view. Don't leave the package. Take it back. Break the list. Another figure pushed him aside. An older man in a 1960s postal uniform. His message appeared, complete the delivery. Join us. It's peaceful here. More figures pressed forward, each trying to communicate through my phone. Run, stay. It's a trap, it's freedom. Save yourself, save us. There is no saving. The messages came faster, overlapping, becoming unreadable. My phone grew hot in my hand. The screen began to crack from the heat. Then all the messages disappeared, replaced by a single line of text. The collection requires a curator. One driver, every Halloween, to tend to the undelivered. Will you accept this position? A yes and no button appeared on my screen. This was it. The real test. Not whether I could deliver to the house, but whether I would accept the position. Whether I would become the keeper of all the undelivered packages, all the failed deliveries, all the drivers who never made it home. My finger hovered over the screen. The no button was already starting to fade, becoming harder to see. Soon, there would only be yes. The house was patient, but not infinitely so. That's when the Scarecrow doll did something unexpected. It launched itself at my phone, knocking it out of my hand. The phone hit the concrete and shattered completely. The screen went dark. The choice disappeared. I looked at the doll, now on the ground next to my broken phone. It was pointing again. Not at the house, not at the package, at my van. Its stitched face had changed, forming what looked like the word go. But I still had to complete the delivery. If I didn't, Tommy said they would follow me home. I looked at the package on the doorstep. Such a small thing. But I understood now what it was. It was bait. The collection didn't want the package. It wanted the driver. I made a decision that probably saved my life. I picked up the package and threw it as hard as I could through the front window of 999 Oak Ridge. The sound of breaking glass was impossibly loud, like every window in the world shattering at once. The house screamed, not a human scream, but the sound of violated space, of broken rules, of a trap that had been triggered wrong. The collected drivers inside became visible to the naked eye, no phone needed. They stood in neat rows, hundreds of them, all still holding their final packages. But now they were moving, shuffling toward the broken window, toward the exit I'd created. No, a voice said from inside the house. Not human, older, the voice of the collection itself. The contract must be fulfilled. A curator must be chosen. The drivers kept moving toward the window. Some of them were starting to wake up, to realize they could leave. If not you, the voice continued. Then another. The Scarecrow will choose. I looked down at the doll. It had stood up and was walking, actually walking, toward the house. Its little stitched legs moving in jerky puppet-like steps. It reached the doorway, turned back to me and waved. Not the mechanical wave it had been doing all night. A real goodbye wave. Then it walked through the door, which opened just enough to admit it. The Scarecrow accepts the position of curator, the house said, sounding surprised. This is irregular, but acceptable. The collection is maintained. The contract is fulfilled. The drivers inside stopped moving. They turned in unison to look at the Scarecrow doll, which had grown to human size. It stood at the front of their ranks, arms spread wide, still made of cloth and straw, but now large enough to be their keeper, their curator, their warden. The door slammed shut. The broken window reformed. The house began to fade, becoming translucent. It was leaving this space, taking the collection somewhere else. Somewhere that existed between addresses, between moments, between Halloweens. As it faded, I heard the Scarecrow's voice for the first time. Soft, made of rustling straw and old cloth. Run, Marcus. Run and never look back. Tell the others. Tell them the list has changed. Tell them the Scarecrow keeps the collection now. And tell them thank you for carrying me. The house disappeared completely, leaving an empty lot between 9995 and 1003 Oak Ridge. The packages that had lined the walkway were gone. Even the tiny package I'd thrown through the window had vanished. I ran to my van, started it, and drove. I didn't stop at the station. I didn't check in my scanner. I just drove home, parked, and sat in my apartment until the clock struck midnight and Halloween officially ended. I woke up on November 1st, convinced it had all been a nightmare. The kind of vivid, horrible dream that feels real in the moment, but fades in the morning light. But when I checked my work phone, there were 17 missed calls from dispatch, all from after midnight. I called in sick. The dispatcher sounded relieved to hear from me. Jesus, Marcus, we thought something happened to you. Your van's GPS went dark for like 3 hours last night. Then you never checked in after your route. Yeah, I wasn't feeling well. Must have been something I ate. Your van's still here at the station. Keys were in the ignition. Scanner was checked in, but we couldn't find you anywhere. I looked out my apartment window. My personal car was in its usual spot. I had no memory of driving it home. No memory of returning the van. No memory of anything after midnight. I'll be back tomorrow, I told dispatch. Actually, take a few days. Tommy wants to talk to you when you get back. Something about route changes. Tommy? I needed to talk to Tommy. I called him immediately. He answered on the first ring. You survived, he said. It wasn't a question, barely. The Scarecrow? I know. Everyone on the list knows. The houses are different now, quieter. The collection hasn't tried to recruit anyone since Halloween. The backwards house only reverses things on Tuesdays. The thank you house has started leaving tips instead of notes. What happened to the Scarecrow? It's the curator now. It made a deal we couldn't. It was never human, so it can't be corrupted the way we can. It can manage the collection without being absorbed by it. Tommy paused. You broke the list, Marcus. No rookie has ever done that before. So it's over? For this year? But Halloween comes around again, and the list reforms. Different houses wake up, different entities reach out. The Scarecrow can only protect us from the collection. There are other things, other hungers. I thought about the Morrison house frozen in 1979, the thank you notes that multiplied like a virus, the temporal chaos of the time skip house. I'm quitting, I said. No, you're not, Tommy replied. You're one of the few who survived all 6 houses. You have knowledge now, experience. We need drivers who know about the list, who can warn the rookies, who can update the warnings when things change. I can't go through that again. You won't have to. Drivers who survive the list are never assigned those routes again. The houses remember you. They've tasted you. You're marked as already played with. They want fresh drivers now. That's fucked up. That's the job. Look, take your few days. Think about it. But Marcus, we need you. The rookies need you. Someone has to maintain the real list, the warnings, the survival tactics. Without people like us, every Halloween would be a massacre. I hung up and spent the next 3 days thinking. I researched the addresses, looking for patterns. The Morrison house had indeed been the site of murders in 1979. The lot at 999 Oak Ridge had never been developed. Despite being purchased and permitted, dozens of times over the decades. Each buyer had mysteriously withdrawn from the project. 666 Ashwood Drive had a history of thank you notes dating back to the 1800s when it was just farmland. Farmers would find notes thanking them for their crops, written in languages that predated human civilization. The time skip house existed in county records in multiple decades simultaneously. It was built in 1955, 1972, 1989, and 2003, all according to official documents. And 2121 Pine Circle, the backwards house? Every family that had lived there eventually moved out, walking backward down the driveway one final time, never to be seen again going forward. I went back to work on November 5th. Tommy met me at the station before my shift. "Made a decision?" he asked. "Yeah, I'll stay. But I want every rookie to know about the list. No more surprises. No more hazing by letting them discover it themselves." "Can't do that," Tommy said. "Company policy. Officially, the list doesn't exist. We can't train people for something that doesn't exist. Then I'll do it unofficially. Every Halloween I'll ride along with the rookies assigned to list routes." "Guardian angel style," Tommy smiled. "That's what I was hoping you'd say. Welcome to the real job, Marcus. Welcome to the actual delivery service. The one that delivers more than just packages." "What do you mean?" "We deliver boundaries, borders between our world and theirs. Every package is a test. Every delivery is a choice. Do we engage with the weird, or do we maintain the separation? Drivers like us, we're not just bringing people their stuff. We're maintaining the thin lines that keep the normal world normal. That's a lot of responsibility for $22 an hour, which is why those of us who know the truth get paid more." He handed me a paper. "Hazard pay, retroactive to Halloween. You'll also get a route designation that keeps you away from any known list houses." The paper showed my new pay rate, $45 an hour, plus benefit, plus something called metaphysical insurance. Metaphysical insurance? Covers any temporal displacement, dimensional shifting, or soul-related injuries incurred on the job. Jesus. Yeah. The underwriters for that policy are interesting, but that's a different story. It's been 2 years since that Halloween. I've trained 17 rookies, saved most of them, lost 2. One to a thank you house that learned to write notes in the air. Another to a new collection that formed in an abandoned FedEx sorting facility. The list grows every year. New houses wake up. Old ones evolve. The Morrison house now has children, ghost kids who trick-or-treat at other houses, spreading their 1979 Halloween to the whole neighborhood. The time skip house has started delivering packages to itself from different timelines, creating paradoxes that make my head hurt. But the scarecrow is still out there, still managing the collection. Sometimes I see it in my peripheral vision, standing at the edge of a property, waving. Not the creepy mechanical wave from that night. A friendly wave, a colleague acknowledging another colleague. Every Halloween, I ride with the rookies. I teach them the rules. Never knock on a list house door. Don't read the thank you notes. If you feel compelled to walk backward, run forward instead. Time is negotiable, but your delivery schedule isn't. The collection takes volunteers, not conscripts, and most importantly, the packages aren't the product. You are. Some rookies think I'm crazy. Others quit on the spot. But a few, a precious few, understand. They join our unofficial union of drivers who know the truth, who maintain the list, who keep the boundaries between the normal and the abnormal. Because here's the thing about delivery work that they don't tell you in orientation. We're not just the last mile of the supply chain. We're the first line of defense against things that use our commerce system to spread. Every package is a potential invitation. Every doorbell ring is a possible summons. Every delivery photo is a window that things can look through. And Halloween? Halloween is when they all wake up at once. When every weird house, every strange customer, every impossible address decides to place an order. So if you see a delivery driver speeding past your house on Halloween night, don't judge them. They might not be lazy or behind schedule. They might be protecting you from accepting a package you really don't want. They might be maintaining a list you never want to be on, and if you find a package on your doorstep that you didn't order, especially on Halloween, maybe don't open it. Maybe don't even touch it. Maybe just mark it "Return to Sender" and pray it goes back to wherever it came from, because the list is real. The houses are waiting, and every Halloween, they're hungry for new drivers, new deliveries, new collections. The Scarecrow can only protect us from so much. I'm recording this on October 30th, 2024. Tomorrow is Halloween. Tomorrow the list activates again, but this year is different. This year, I've noticed changes. The Thank You House has started sending notes to customers, not just drivers. People are finding them in their delivered packages, tucked between the items they ordered. The notes are spreading beyond the house, beyond the routes. They're becoming viral, literally. The Morrison house from 1979, it's been appearing in other neighborhoods, not moving, duplicating. There are now 7 confirmed Morrison houses, all frozen in October 31st, 1979, all with families that grow larger every year. The backwards house has learned to reverse time, not just direction. Drivers are arriving at houses before they've left the station. Packages are being delivered before they're ordered. The time skip house has synchronized with others like it. They're creating a network of temporal anomalies. Some drivers are aging years and minutes. Others are getting younger. One driver arrived at the station as a baby with no explanation for how he was driving the van. And the collection? The Scarecrow is still managing it. But it sent out a message through the thank you notes, through the backwards walks, through the time skips. The position of curator is temporary. Every All Hallows Eve, a new curator may challenge the old. The collection hungers for management with ambition. Apply within. Tommy thinks something big is coming. Something that will change the list permanently. He's organizing the veteran drivers, creating contingency plans. We're mapping every weird house, every impossible address, every customer who might not be entirely human. Because we've realized something. We're not just maintaining boundaries anymore. We're witnessing an invasion, a slow, methodical invasion through the commercial delivery system. Every package is a probe. Every delivery is a test of our defenses. And tomorrow, on Halloween 2024, they're going to test us like never before. So this is my warning, my testimony, my confession. If you're a driver, new or veteran, know that the list is evolving. The old rules might not apply. The Scarecrow might not be our protector anymore. It might be the thing we need protection from. If you're a customer, be careful what you order near Halloween. Check your packages for thank you notes. Don't accept deliveries from drivers walking backward. And if your house number suddenly changes to something impossible, don't answer the door. And if you're something else, something that uses our delivery network to reach into our world, know this. We're on to you. We know your addresses, we maintain the list, and we're not just drivers anymore. We're the thin brown line between the normal world and whatever you are. This Halloween, we're ready for you, at least I hope we are, because I just checked tomorrow's route, and every single stop is a list house. Every single one. Even my own apartment is on there. 23B Riverside. Recipient name, the former driver. The package description, final delivery. Tommy was wrong. Surviving the list doesn't make you immune. It makes you the ultimate package. And tomorrow, on Halloween, I'm being delivered. That was Marcus, the driver's final recording. We received it this morning, October 31st, 2024. Delivered to our studio in an Amazon package we didn't order. The return address was listed as 91999 Oak Ridge, an address that doesn't exist. Inside the package, along with the audio file, was a small scarecrow doll. It's sitting on my desk now as I record this. Its stitched face seems to be smiling. Its arm is pointing at something off camera. We've tried to contact Marcus. His phone is disconnected. His apartment is empty. The delivery company has no record of him ever working there, despite the detailed testimony you just heard. But the list? The list is real. We've verified the addresses. They exist. And tonight, Halloween night, they're all expecting deliveries. If you're listening to this on Halloween, pay attention to your doorbell. Count the delivery trucks on your street. Notice if they slow down at certain houses, but don't stop. Watch for drivers who walk backward, who leave packages at the curb, who seem to be in a hurry even with empty vans. They know something. They've seen the list, and now so have you. This has been After Dark Horrors. Thank you for joining us. And remember, when that doorbell rings tonight, maybe check your camera before you answer. Some deliveries are better left uncollected. Happy Halloween. And to all the delivery drivers working tonight, good luck. The Scarecrow is watching. We're all counting on you to maintain the list.